There's a quiet reason why certain souls seem to silence a room without uttering a word. Not because fate smiled more kindly on them, nor because they shouted louder, but because they've anchored themselves in an unshakable sense of inner truth. It's not luck. It's alignment. When someone moves through the world with clarity, guarding their energy like sacred fire, they don't need to convince. They simply radiate. It's like the difference between a flame and the sun. One flickers, the other simply shines. Carrying yourself with the gravity of something rare has nothing to do with money or aesthetics. It's a psychological state, a posture of self-respect, a vow to never dilute who you are to be more digestible to others. You're not trying to dazzle the world. You're trying to reflect the depth already etched inside you. Today, we'll explore 5 subtle but powerful shifts that awaken this energy not as a performance, but as a remembering of your truest form. Not to recognize your worth is not to brag, it's to feel deep in your bones that your existence matters regardless of circumstances or applause. It's remembering that your presence here is not an accident of biology, but a signature from something greater. When the world tries to reduce you to numbers, trends, or roles, your task is to resist becoming data in someone else's system. You are not built for boxes. You are designed to be whole. Think of luxury. It does not explain itself. It doesn't scream to be seen. It exists with certainty. And so should you. Enter a room unsure of your value, and you'll chase validation. Like a coin dropped down a well, never hearing it land. But when you know you are already enough, you don't ask permission to take up space. You offer your presence like a silent gift. You don't need to make noise to be noticed. The most powerful things move quietly. Like a constellation overhead, you don't have to blink to be real. The world might misread you, underestimate your silence, or project their doubts onto your light. Let them. Their confusion is not your crisis. It is the mirror of their own limitation. You are not here to translate your soul into their language. You are here to speak in the dialect of your truth. When you stop trying to be understood, you start to become undeniable. Guarding your energy isn't an act of cruelty. It's an act of wisdom. It doesn't mean shutting your heart. It means opening your eyes. It means learning the quiet art of distinguishing between what nourishes your soul and what quietly drains it drop by drop. You weren't placed on this earth to be a sponge for everyone else's chaos. You're here to create beauty, to offer warmth, to build meaning, and that cannot flourish in constant depletion. To live from this center, you must learn to disappoint. Not out of spite, but out of clarity. You'll have to say no with no elaborate defense. Step out of hollow conversations. Step away from connections that dim your light more than they fuel it. And you must do it gently, not in anger, but in sovereignty. You are not dismissing others. You are preserving the flame you've worked so hard to keep alive. That fire, when protected, burns brighter. Not just for you, but for those who were truly meant to be touched by its warmth. The world will try to guilt you for this. It will label you as distant, guarded, or too much. But remember, those cries often come from the mouths of those who feasted on your lack of boundaries. Their unease is not your burden to soothe. Your duty is to your own soul, the part of you that always knows when it is being honored, and when it is being used out. It is seductive to believe that being available, pleasing, and visible equals value. But that illusion is hollow. You are not a product to be consumed. You are an experience to be felt, known, and remembered. And that requires discernment. Value is not found in exposure, but in intention. In choosing when and how you give yourself, not as performance, but as presence. So, ask yourself, who drains your spirit? What rooms dim your light? What cycles leave you fragmented? Start drawing sacred lines, not to keep the world out, but to protect what's sacred within. Let your yes carry weight. Let your no be a full sentence. Not because you think yourself superior, but because you've remembered your worth. You are rare. Treat your energy as such. Offer it not as spare change, but as a gem one that must be earned, not expected. There is a kind of presence that speaks long before your lips do. It enters a room ahead of you and lingers behind after you've gone. It doesn't come from fashion, noise, or mimicry. It is carved from your alignment. The truest kind of power is not explosive, it's steady. Like a river that cuts through stone not with fury, but with consistency. And that kind of presence? It doesn't chase attention, it draws it. Not because it's loud, but because it's rooted. In a world addicted to performance, stillness is revolutionary. Those who carry that stillness, the ones who don't need to speak to be heard, are the ones we remember. Think about the symbols and names that leave a mark. It's not because they're everywhere. It's because they never diluted their essence. Like a rare fragrance that lingers even in silence, true identity doesn't clamor. It refines itself, again and again, until it becomes undeniable. So become that. Not a brand, but a being shaped through honesty, discernment, and self-respect. Let every word, glance, and silence reflect the sanctuary you've built within. People might not know what it is about you, but they'll feel it. Not the sharpness of your words, but the depth behind your gaze. Not the size of your voice, but the steadiness of your stillness. There's a kind of presence that doesn't enter a space to impress. It enters as if it's always belonged there. Not loud, not seeking, just certain. It doesn't ask to be noticed, but it cannot be ignored. This isn't something you're born with. It's something you shape in the quiet hours of your own becoming. It's the outcome of knowing your shadows as well as your light, of learning the rhythm of your own breath instead of chasing the noise outside. This kind of presence is a reflection of inner congruence, the alignment between thought and behavior, emotion and movement. It's not about appearing confident. It's about being at peace with who you are. You move differently when you're not performing. You speak differently when you're no longer trying to win the room. This isn't arrogance, it's resonance. You don't rise above others. You rise into yourself. True presence is not something you declare, it's something others feel. And that depth is rarely forged in applause. It's built in silence, in those moments when you face yourself and choose not to flinch. Power like this is quiet. It doesn't posture or plead. It gathers over time, like the stillness before a storm, like roots growing in the dark, steady and unseen. People who chase attention often wear many faces, adapting to every audience, hoping to be liked, to be accepted. But presence has no costume. It doesn't mimic, it emanates. Those who master it become reference points not because they demand it, but because they embody a wholeness others can feel but rarely name. In a world of noise, stillness is revolutionary. So ask yourself, who are you when no one needs anything from you? What truths guide your silence? What tone lives in your gaze? These are the questions that sculpt presence. It's not just how you stand, it's the story your stillness tells. It's not just your voice, it's the vibration behind your words. It's not just your choices, it's the soul that makes them. To embody the rare aura that captivates. Without explanation, you must root yourself not in performance, but in purpose. The world often confuses shine for substance. But the glow of truth does not flicker. It holds. What is refined on the inside doesn't need glitter on the outside. Presence, when it's real, doesn't fade. It deepens. You don't need to decorate yourself in borrowed light. You need only return to your own. When your energy becomes clear, when your intentions align with your essence, you carry a quiet gravity. It draws people in not because of what you wear or say, but because of what you carry inside. This is not about luxury as a symbol. It's about luxury as integrity. The rare kind. The felt kind. Think of a timepiece, treasured not for its gold casing, but for the flawless orchestration of its inner gears, silent, unseen, yet utterly precise. That's what true refinement is. It's the work no one sees, and it begins when you stop sculpting your image and begin shaping your essence. It asks you to look within, not just when things are calm, but especially when everything around you unravels. The world will tempt you to blame, to run, to numb. But healing begins when you pause and listen to the parts of you that you've long silenced. You'll have to face your ghosts, the ones hiding in your reactions, disguising themselves as anger, sarcasm, perfectionism. If you ignore them, they will not go quietly. They will seep into your relationships, bleed into decisions meant for peace, and shadow even your brightest moments. But when you stop running, when you sit in the discomfort and name it for what it is, something shifts. What once controlled you begins to lose its grip. That's not indulgence. That's liberation. Real strength doesn't shout, it listens. It doesn't fight every storm. It learns to read the weather. This is what emotional intelligence really is. Not niceness, not fragility, but grounded awareness. The kind of knowing that steadies your hand even when everything else trembles. It's being deeply attuned to your emotions, to others too. The unspoken current beneath words. People sense it, even if they can't explain it. It makes you magnetic, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. You don't build this overnight. It's not gifted, it's earned, through quiet rituals, through journaling that clears out the dust of thought, through vulnerable conversations that release years of silent weight, through meditation that teaches you to stay instead of flee. These aren't luxury habits. They are soul practices. The tools of those who choose depth over distraction, clarity over performance. It's not always glamorous. No one applauds you for healing in private. There are days it feels like walking through fog barefoot, but slowly, gently, you begin to change. You stop asking others who you are. You stop fitting into shapes that were never yours. And something rare begins to radiate from you, not loud, but unmistakable. It's the calm in your eyes, the stillness in your step, the certainty in your silence. People won't always know what it is, but they'll feel it. This is the echo of someone who's done the work. When your inner life is rich, your outer presence doesn't need decoration. You don't have to prove. You don't have to explain. You simply are. And in a world starving for something real that is more than enough, there's a kind of silence that isn't empty. It's full. It doesn't hide. It holds. It carries weight. In a culture obsessed with visibility, that kind of stillness has become sacred. Everyone's rushing to be heard. But the most powerful truths don't scream. They hum softly in those who know. Their value isn't tied to volume. So be the one who doesn't always respond, who doesn't always show up with an answer or a performance. Be the one who returns to their center again and again. And in doing so, you'll become something rare, a quiet force, a living contradiction to a world that forgot how to pause. Asterisk, when you truly begin to understand your own rhythm, you step away from the chaos that demands urgency. You stop answering every call for attention as if your worth depended on it. Quick reactions often come not from clarity, but from unrest. And silence, when chosen consciously, becomes your most powerful presence. It disorients expectation. It interrupts the performance others are waiting for. Where people expect confrontation or agreement, you offer stillness, and in that stillness, their own projections echo louder than your words ever could. Imagine being challenged, criticized, provoked. The instinct might be to defend, to explain, to win. But what if you didn't? What if you simply remain still, body calm, gaze steady, voice undisturbed? In that moment, you become an unmoving mirror. You do not give them a wall to push or a rope to pull. You become air untouchable and yet undeniably present. Their storm passes, but you remain. Not as a reaction, but as a rooted truth. This is not manipulation, it is mastery. It is choosing to contain your energy like a sacred current, not to be spilled in every direction. Most people drain themselves in their rush to be understood, to be seen, to be right. But when you stop needing to prove, you start to become. Reality, after all, does not need an audience, it simply is. That's the quiet authority of silence. It is not the absence of thought, it is its refinement. The wisest among us rarely shout. They do not arrive with spectacle. They observe. They choose. They hold space like it's something holy. They speak when it matters, and when they do, the world leans in. Because they've learned that presence does not come from volume, but from resonance. Stillness doesn't just help us see others more clearly. It helps us see ourselves. It reveals the hidden motives behind our urgency, the wounded ego beneath, our need to interrupt, the fear of invisibility that makes us overexpose. True silence is not fear, it's fortitude. One hides, the other contains. One avoids, the other transcends. Silence, when born from wholeness, becomes a vessel. It filters out what is noise and holds only what is essential. Those who dwell in depth don't rush to fill the quiet. They welcome it. They let it breathe. Because they know, wisdom does not speak at every turn. Sometimes restraint is the most profound form of expression. Sometimes your silence holds 1,000 truths that words would only dilute to move through life with the grace of something timeless. You must become fluent in this silent language, not a language of absence, but of pure presence. It speaks, not in what you say, but in how you listen, how you wait, how you move only when the soul says, now. This truly is what it means to carry yourself like something rare. Not loud, not everywhere, but unmistakable. You were never meant to be available to everyone. You are meant to be remembered by those who see not just your image, but your essence. So walk with intention. Speak with purpose. Offer less, but mean more. The most magnetic souls don't seek attention. They simply become it.